Umagyanatminandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Dandavat pranams to all the assembled Vaishnavas and sincere seekers. Nazar's also just joined. Great to have you with us. So we are continuing with the story of Prahlad. And we've just heard of all the devastation that Hiranyakashipu has been causing throughout all planetary systems. And he's taken control of the heavenly planets. He's taken the seat of the king of heaven, Lord Indra. He has the devas bowing at his feet, forced to submit to him. And so they went to Lord Vishnu to pray for protection. And Lord Vishnu has promised to give that, telling them it is just a matter of time. And so now we're just coming to hear about Prahlad Maharaj for the first time. And the Lord also told them, I'm getting an echo for some reason. Is it only me who's hearing that? Or
I don't hear an echo.
no? Okay. I guess this is me. Thank you, Angalila. And the Lord also told them, I'm waiting, he wants to experience this. I'm letting him experience this. He's gathered this power for himself. So this is a type of karma. And Lord Vishnu says, but don't worry, as soon as he creates some disturbance towards his son, the saintly Prahlad, I will come at that time, right? And I will intervene in the situation. And so it's just a matter of time. And remember, this is all part of a wider Leela, right? And the Lord has his own purpose and all of this. And one of those is that he wants to highlight the position of his devotees. He wants to come in as the savior of his beloved devotees. And in this case, it's Prahlad Maharaj. So he's waiting for the right moment, right? The stage has been set, right? And there's a script, and his entrance, the Shringadev's entrance, is just coming up in a few scenes ahead, right? And Yoga Maya, the Lord's internal potency, she is the stage manager in all of this. Okay, so we're going to pick up. We're in chapter 4 of the 7th canto. We're going to pick up at verse 30, and we're very happy we have Suvasini Didi with us today. So Didi, do you want to lead us in the Sanskrit?
Yes. Okay. Tasya dhaityapate putras chatvara paramadbhutaha Prahlado bun mahamstesham gunail mahat upasakaha.
Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities, because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. Purport: Yas yasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarver gunais tatra samasade sadaha. And one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. Prahlad Maharaj is praised herein for having all good qualities because of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a pure devotee who has no motives has all good qualities, material and spiritual. If one is spiritually advanced, being a staunch, liberal devotee of the Lord, all good qualities are manifest in his body. On the other hand, harava bhaktasya kuto mahadgunaha. If one is not a devotee, even if he has some materially good qualities, they have no value. That is the verdict of the Vedas. And this can be a puzzling statement, right? But the idea is that if the qualities that we have are in connection with the temporary plane, the value, it is of temporary value, right? Those qualities they are existing within the relative plane, right? And so they are of temporary value within this world of relativity. But if one has a connection, a loving connection with the original divine source in the plane of eternity, then all goodness will come. And that is goodness of an eternal value, permanent value. Okay, we'll go on to verse 31, 32.
ब्रह्मण्यः शीलसम्पन्नः सत्यसन्धो जितेन्द्रियः आत्मवत् सर्वभूतानाम् एकप्रिय सुहृत्तमः दासवत् सन्नतार्याङ्घ्री पितृवत् दीनवत्सलः भ्रातृवत् सदृशे स्निग्धो गुरुष्वीश्वर भावनः विद्यार्थरूपजन्माद्यो मानस्तम्भविवर्जितः.
So here the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj are being described. He was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmin, having very good character and being determined to understand the absolute truth. He had full control of his senses and mind. Like the Supersoul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. To respectable persons, he acted exactly like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother, and he considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older godbrothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arisen from his good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy, and so on. So, a beautiful list of good qualities to meditate on. Purport: these are some of the qualifications of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is automatically a Brahmin because a Vaishnava has all the good qualities of a Brahmin. And now there's a verse from Bhagavad Gita describing the qualities of the Brahmins: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmins work. These qualities are manifest in the body of a Vaishnava. Therefore, a perfect Vaishnava is also a perfect Brahmin, as indicated here by the words, Brahmanya Shila Sampanaha. So by virtue of one's connection with the Lord, right, the Lord is the supreme purity, right? The Lord is the ultimate purity. And so when we offer ourselves to him, then naturally we become purified and all good qualities will come as a side effect, right? It is described that as a side effect of one's connection with the Lord, all goodness will come because we are connected with the source of all goodness. A Vaishnava is always determined to understand the absolute truth, and to understand the absolute truth, one needs to have full control over his senses and mind. Prahlad Maharaj possessed all these qualities. A Vaishnava is always a well-wisher to everyone. The 6 Goswamis, for example, are described in this way. Dhira Dhira Janapriyo. They were popular with both the gentle and the ruffians. A Vaishnava must be equal to everyone, regardless of one's position. Atmavat. A Vaishnava should be like Paramatma. Ishvar Sarvabhutanam.
Which material existence.
Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesha Arjuna Tishtati. Paramatma does not hate anyone. Indeed, he is in the heart of a Brahmin, but he is also even in the heart of a pig. As a moon never refuses to distribute its pleasing rays, even to the home of a Chandala. And a Chandala is sometimes described as a dog eater, someone of a very low class. A Vaishnava never refuses to act for everyone's nature. That's a very nice analogy, isn't it? The moon is shining its rays upon all with no prejudice. And so the Vaishnava is also like that. The Vaishnava is wishing well, wishing goodness upon all with no prejudice. It is because their very nature is goodness. So they're emanating goodness and naturally wishing goodness upon all. So that's a very nice analogy. Therefore, a Vaishnava is always obedient to the spiritual master. Arya, the word Arya refers to one who is advanced in knowledge. One who is deficient in knowledge cannot be called Arya. At the present, however, the word Arya is used to refer to those who are godless. This is the unfortunate situation of Kali Yuga. The word Guru refers to the spiritual master who initiates his disciple into advancement in the science of Krishna or Krishna consciousness, as stated by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay, we'll go on to verse 33.
Nodvigna chityo Vasaneshu Nispृहः Shruteshu Drishteshu Guneshva Vastudhrik Dantendriya Prana Shariradi Sada Prasanat Kamorhita Surasuraha Suraha. Yeah.
That's an interesting phrase. Is that saying like demon of the demons? Or Rahita Sodaha. Oh, Rahita is free from. Oh, so although he was an Asura, he was not an Asura. It's saying something like that. Because he was born in an Asuric race, but he did not have the qualities of an Asura. I see. Rahita. Although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. So an Asura, it's actually referring to a race, right? And so just because one is born into a particular race doesn't mean that they necessarily have the qualities that generally that race will have, right? And so Prahlad Maharaj, he is an exception like that. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. He was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruitive activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires. Purport: from this verse, we discover that a man is not qualified or disqualified simply by birth. Prahlad Maharaj was an Asura by birth, yet he possessed all the qualities of a perfect Brahmin. Anyone can become a fully qualified Brahmin under the direction of a spiritual master. Prahlad Maharaj provided a vivid example of how to think of the spiritual master and accept his directions calmly. And welcome Sadhvi and also Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, who have also joined us. Dandavat. Okay, so going on to verse 34.
Yasmin mahad guna rajan krihyante kavibir muhu nate dhuna hridiyante yata bhagavatishvare.
Beautiful, huh? Yata Bhagavatishvare. O King, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas. As all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also exist forever in his devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. Purport: from authoritative scripture, it is learned that Prahlad Maharaj still lives in Vaikuntha Loka, as well as within this material world on the planet Sutala. This transcendental quality of existing simultaneously in different places is another qualification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Goloka eva nivasat yakilatma bhuta. The Lord appears in the core of everyone's heart, yet he exists on his own planet, Goloka Vrindavan. A devotee acquires qualities almost the same as those of the Lord because of unalloyed devotional service. Ordinary living beings cannot be so qualified, but a devotee can be qualified like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not in full, but partially. Okay, going on to verse 35.
Yam sadhugata sadasi vipavopi sura nripa pratimanam prakurvanti kim utanye bhavadrishaha.
In any assembly where there are discourses about saints and devotees, O King Yudhishthir, even the enemies of the demons, namely the demigods, what to speak of you, would cite Prahlad Maharaj as an example of a great devotee. So this is Narada, right, speaking to Yudhishthir Maharaj and saying, this is who Prahlad Maharaj is. Whenever there's, like a list of great saints that's being discussed, Prahlad Maharaj is going to be there, and even very greatly exalted persons who are already exalted themselves, they will also appreciate Prahlad Maharaj and what a great devotee he is. So this is the position of Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, verse 36.
Gunair alam asankhye mahatmyam tasya suchyate vasudeve bhagavati yasya naisargiki rati.
Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaj? He had unflinching faith in Vasudev, Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudev, and unalloyed devotion to him. His attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of his previous devotional service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, they prove that he was a great soul, Mahatma. Purport: in his prayers to the 10 incarnations, Jayadev Goswami says, Keshava Dhrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Prahlad Maharaj was a devotee of Lord Nrsimha, who is Keshava, Krishna himself. Therefore, when this verse says, Vasudeve Bhagavati, one should understand that Prahlad Maharaj's attachment for Nrsimhadev was attachment for Krishna, Vasudev, the son of Vasudev. Prahlad Maharaj therefore is described as a great Mahatma. As the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunan Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudorlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. A great devotee of Krishna, the son of Vasudev, is a great soul, very rarely to be found. Prahlad Maharaj's attachment for Krishna will be explained in the next verse. Krishna graha grihitatma. Prahlad Maharaj's heart was always filled with thoughts of Krishna. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is the ideal devotee in Krishna consciousness.
Nista kridhanako bhalo jadavattan manasthaya Krishna graha grihitatma na veda jagat idrisham.
From the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he gave them up altogether. I'm sorry, Suvasini. I think it's something coming from your mic. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm getting this persistent kind of echoey sound. Yeah, maybe if you
Okay,
could
maybe I will mute
mute.
and then
Yeah, thank you,
stop.
Didi. Yeah, I don't know exactly. It's not usually like that for some reason. Today, it is some strange sound. Okay. So now we're finally getting to the part that we were all quite excited about, right? That we want to hear about Prahlad Maharaj and the glories of Prahlad. And he's a child, right? Which makes the whole story even more compelling. You know, he's a young boy who's fully devoted to the Lord. You know, what a beautiful example, an inspiring example for all of us. So we hear from the very beginning of his childhood, he was not interested in childish play. He gave them up altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on, being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. This reminds me, this one talk of our Gurudev I was listening to not too long ago, and he was saying, because we are weak ourselves, then we are understanding of the weakness of others, right? But if someone doesn't have any weakness, they will not be understanding, right? And so also, this is a similar thing being mentioned here. Prahlad Maharaj, because he's so fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he cannot relate at all. He can have no understanding for those who are engaged in the world and finding some pleasure in the world. There's no sympathy there simply because he can't understand it. It has no touch on his reality. But when we ourselves are also under the influence of that material energy, then we will be, we also have weakness within us. Then we will be understanding of others. Oh, it is okay. Our Gurudev was saying like that. It is okay. Our response is like that. It is okay. But we see these examples, and it also helps us understand, right? Because sometimes we hear of great Vaishnavas who could be extremely strict. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was like that. He was very, very strict. But why is that so? Because he could not understand, right? Because he's so fully fixed on a transcendental platform that he cannot relate to the mundane weakness of others, right? That for him, it is one reality, right? It is not dvitiya, it is not twofold reality. There is one reality, and that is Krishna's reality, and we exist to serve him, right? And in the case of our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, we were very fortunate because he was extremely merciful, and he brought himself down into a plane so that he could understand, right? And although he himself is of a higher plane, he in a sense brought himself down to a level so that he could understand us and bestow more mercy upon us. And that is also described that is often what happens when Uttam Adhikar, highest level Vaishnavas, come to this world, eternal associates. They will sometimes descend to Madhyam Adhikar, middle stage platform, in order to relate better with persons at our level. And our Gurudev, he actually stated that himself. Speaking very humbly, he was saying that, you know, he said, he said, Guru Maharaj, he is so great. And, Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he is so great. And he said, but in some ways I am better. I'm in a better position to teach you. And he said, because I am also a conditioned soul. You are conditioned souls, and I'm also a conditioned soul. So I can understand you better. Right? But actually, that was his mercy that he came to a position where he was able to understand us better. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj also mentioned this in his pranam mantra that he indicated for Srila Govinda Maharaj, right? Chincha achincha samasta veda nipunam, that He could understand everything that was conceivable as well as everything that was inconceivable, right? That he, we can interpret that in different ways, but one way we can understand that is both the material side and the spiritual side, right? That Srila Govindamar samasta Veda nipunam, that he could understand all. He was very expert. Nipun. He is expert. He was expert in that, So that was our good fortune, that Srila Govinda Maharaj was understanding, and was sympathetic of our position. But you hear some incidents with the great Vaishnavas, and it can be shocking to us how strict they can be, right? But it's because they're only seeing this one truth. So there can be a lack of compromise, right? There's only one truth. So how is it possible that there's anything else, right? There's just a complete lack of understanding. And so this is what's being described about Prahlad Maharaj. He's fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So he has no understanding. How is it that these people are living? What are they getting out of life? What's motivating them to go on? To him, it's completely incomprehensible. Just like if we look at some flies happily nesting in a pile of pig stool, we will think how strange, right? We will think how disgusting that is, right? But the great souls, they may also look at us. How are you getting any pleasure out of these material senses? Right? It is a strange thing, right? It is incomprehensible to them. Everyone in this world is running after wealth, right? But we hear that story of, I believe it was Jagannath Das Babaji, right? When someone gave him a 1 rupee donation and he carried it about a mile and he came back and he returned it to that person. He said, I couldn't bear the weight of this 1 rupee. How is it that you're carrying so many rupees? So, right, in Bhagavad Gita, Yanisha Sarabhutanam, right, for one who is awake in that spiritual daylight, the world of the senses is like dark night, right? And then just the other way around is also true. For one who is awake in that dark night of the senses, the world of the senses, that upper spiritual plane, that is like night to them. They are awake in the night and asleep to the light, right? Just the opposite is true. So anyhow, Prahlad is of that side, right? He is awake in the light of in the world of spirit. He cannot understand anything else. Purport: Prahlad Maharaj is the vivid example of a great person fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Stavara Jangam Deke Na Deke Tar Murti Sarvacha Hoy Nija Ishta Deva Sporti. A fully Krishna conscious person, although situated in this material world, does not see anything but Krishna. Anywhere and everywhere. This is the sign of a Mahabhagavat. The Mahabhagavat sees Krishna everywhere because of his attitude of pure love for Krishna. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achincha Guna Swarupam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shama Sundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. An exalted devotee or Mahatma, who is rarely to be seen, remains fully conscious of Krishna and constantly sees the Lord within the core of his heart. It is sometimes said that when one is influenced by evil stars like Saturn, Rahu, or Ketu, he cannot make advancement in any prospective activity. In just the opposite way, Prahlad Maharaj was influenced by Krishna the supreme planet, and thus he could not think of the material world and live without Krishna consciousness. That is the sign of a Mahabhagavat. Even if one is an enemy of Krishna, a Mahabhagavat sees him to be also engaged in Krishna's service. Another crude example is that everything appears yellow to the jaundiced eye. Similarly, to a Mahabhagavat, everyone but himself appears to be engaged in Krishna's service. Prahlad Maharaj is the approved Mahabhagava, the supreme devotee. In the previous verse, it is stated that he had natural attachment, naisargiki artihi. The symptoms of such natural attachment for Krishna are described in this verse. Although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, he had no interest in playing. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Viraktir Anyacha Cha. The symptom of perfect Krishna consciousness is that one loses interest in all material activities. For a small boy to give up playing is impossible, but Prahlad Maharaj, being situated in first-class devotional service, was always absorbed in a trance of Krishna consciousness. Just as a materialistic person is always absorbed in thoughts of material gain, a Mahabhagavat like Prahlad Maharaj is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Oops, sorry. It's interesting, isn't it? Because, Prahlad Maharaj, he represents the platform, he represents the foundation of pure devotion. And welcome, I think Shreyash joined us, or maybe he dropped out. Yeah. Prahlad Maharaj, he's described as the foundation of pure devotion, and so for this reason, his example is very important for us, has been emphasized by our gurus. Why? Because in order to properly appreciate Krishna Lila, we need to know the different stages that take us there. Why? Because it's very easy to misunderstand the nature of Krishna Lila, because Krishna Lila is apparently, very ordinary. Krishna Lila is human-like, right? Krishna is a simple cowherd boy, and even some of his behavior looks immoral, right? By ordinary standards, he has many girlfriends and so on. He's celebrated as a thief. And so in order to not misunderstand that as being something human or even less than human, we have to appreciate what's the foundation of all of this and what are the different stages that one goes through before reaching that, right? And so Krishna Lila, it is play, right? Krishna is also very playful, and he's always in play with his friends, his family, girlfriends, and so on. So we say Krishna is very playful, but then we're hearing here Prahlad Maharaj, he's a young child who doesn't like to play. And that Prahlad, he is a great devotee. So what does that tell you, right? That the play of that higher world is not the same as the play of this world, right? Prahlad is a very sober child. Even as a young boy, he is very sober and uninterested in any type of worldly activity, and even in playing, right? So what does that say? That the play of Krishna Lila is of a different nature, right? It's not based upon our individual satisfaction, right? But it is based on service mood, right? It is another type of joy, another type of play that comes out of divine love and relationship with the Lord, right? And it is based on the spirit of dedication, right? And although on the surface it may look the same as what we see in this world, it is actually categorically different. And so Prahlad Maharaj, it is important for us to understand. And we hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right, and when he sent once one of his preachers, I believe it was Bharati Maharaj, to lead the Braja Mandal Prikrama one year, he instructed him, to emphasize the teachings of Prahlad, right? He's going to Vrindavan, the place of Radha, Krishna, the gopis, the Rasa Leela, the Rasa dance, all these things. But Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur told him to emphasize the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. So that is a very big statement, right? Because Prahlad represents the foundation of pure devotion. If that isn't, if the spirit of Prahlad, the mood of Prahlad, is not at the foundation of one's devotion, then how can one expect to jump to these higher expressions of devotion as you find in Vrindavan? So the mood of devotion that is found in Vrindavan, contained within that is everything that you see in Prahlad Maharaj. Right, because these rasas, the different relationships with Krishna, in a sense, they're building upon one another, right? So Prahlad Maharaj, he is the epitome of Shanta rasa, right? This passive relationship, passive love and connection with the Lord. Then building upon that is Dasya rasa, the relationship of servitude, right? Lord Hanuman is the epitome of Dasya Ras. He's the acme of Dasya Ras. And so everything in Dasya Ras, so Dasya Ras has its own unique quality, right, of active service, but it's also building upon everything that is in Shanta Rasa. So one in Dasya Rasa has everything that is in Shanta Rasa, has all the qualities of one in Shanta Rasa, plus this added element of active service, right? Then you come to Sakya Rasa, the relationship of friendship. So one in Sakya Rasa, in a friendly relationship with the Lord, has its own unique quality of intimacy, closeness with the Lord. But one in Sakya Rasa will also have all the qualities of one in Dasya Rasa as well as Shanta Rasa, right? Then you come to Vatsalya Rasa, a love that is based on this mood of guardianship, that I am Krishna's protector, his guardian, his caretaker. Could be parental, right? Or an elder. And then so in this Vatsalya Rasa, there's the added element of thinking oneself to be superior in a sense to Krishna, in the sense that I have to protect him and take care of him. But then that Vatsalya Rasa also has all the qualities of Sakya, Dasya, and Shanta, right? Then you come to Madhura Rasa, the amorous relationship, the lover's relationship. And there is, in that relationship, there is full freedom, in one's relationship with the Lord. There is the mood of a lover. And then there's also included all the qualities of Vatsalya, Sakya, Dasya, and Shanta, right? So if you look at Prahlad, you have to understand all the qualities that Prahlad has, those qualities are also present in the Braja Gopis of Vrindavan, right? And so looking at, but if you look at the Braja Gopis of Vrindavan, we're seeing them express their service in many different ways, right? So it can be helpful for us to look at Prahlad, where we're seeing Prahlad is he's embodying this one characteristic of pure devotion. And so by appreciating Prahlad and his nature, his qualities, then we can better appreciate those in the mood of service of Vrindavan, right? Because they contain all of those qualities and more. And so these descriptions about Prahlad Maharaj are very helpful of course, they're inspirational for ourselves, but they're also helpful in helping us to better understand what is the nature of Vrindavan and that aprakrita plane of divine service. What is appearing ordinary human-like, but is not. It's super mundane, appearing mundane, but beyond the mundane. And so Prahlad helps us to understand the purity of Krishna Lila. So I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen. I don't remember exactly where we left off, but who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shama Sundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. An exalted devotee or Mahatma, who is rarely to be seen, remains fully conscious of Krishna. Oh yeah, we read this. Okay, we finished that purport, I think, actually, yeah. Okay. Okay, so Vasnidhi, continue. And if you want to add anything, Didi, please do.
Yes. Okay. Asinaha paryatan asnan sayanaha pratiban bhuvan nanu sandatta etani govinda parirambitaha.
Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna. Thus, being always embraced by the Lord, he did not know how his bodily necessities, such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking, and talking, were being automatically performed. There's a similar description to this in Chaitanya Charitamrita describing Mahaprabhu. You know, when Mahaprabhu is in his trances of divine love, or especially this is in that period of the last 12 years of his life in this world, you know, and he'd go through long periods of just being so absorbed in his inner world and connection. And he became, you know, as time went by, Mahaprabhu became more and more removed from the world around him. And so there's one description like this, like all these daily necessities were just going on automatically, right? As it's being described here, eating, drinking, you know, socializing, resting, sitting, walking, all these things, just going on automatically, right? But his real world, his real focus is with him. And you know, as we progress in our evolution of consciousness, this is the shift that will take place, right? Because normally we are very caught up in the duality of this world, right? We're overcome by the presence of our material body, right? And everything that goes on around it, all this various circumstances in our environment, we're very caught up in those things. Those things are very present in our consciousness. Our consciousness is being affected by these things around us, including this encasement of the body. That's because the moment our consciousness is living within matter, we're living in this strange state where there's been this kind of fusing of matter and spirit. And so we are identifying with this world of matter and the duality of this plane. But as our consciousness starts to evolve, it starts to rise above, it starts to transcend the conception of matter. And we'll start to see, oh, actually, my soul and my spirit is far removed from this bodily plane and the circumstances of this world. And I actually have nothing to do with all these things. And so we will become more aloof, right? And 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 when we reach that enlightened stage, you know, right? Because this is the thing, we can be living within this body, but have transcended this body, right? Jivan mukta, this is the phrase that is used in the Shastra, Jivan mukta, the liberated soul, living in this world, but liberated and beyond this world, living beyond the conception of their body and this worldly plane. And so for the enlightened, so all these things, all these bodily movements and needs and different circumstances of the environment and the world of duality going up and down, good, bad, happy, sad, rich, poor, friends, enemies, all these things, right? They're all still going on. But that great soul, their real existence is on a deeper plane. Those things are just playing out in the background. They're connected to this deeper plane of substance. And so Prahlad is being described in this way. He is aloof to all these things. All these things are just going on automatically, but he is always remembering his Lord. Purport: a small child, while being cared for by his mother, does not know how the needs of the body for eating, sleeping, lying down, passing water, and evacuating are being fulfilled. He is simply satisfied to be on the lap of his mother. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj was exactly like a small child being cared for by Govinda. The necessary activities of his body were performed without his knowledge. As a father and mother care for their child, Govinda cared for Prahlad Maharaj, who always remained absorbed in thoughts of Govinda. This is Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj is the vivid example of perfection in Krishna consciousness. Kvachidrudati vaikunta chinta shabala chetanaha kvachidasasti tatchinta lada udgayate kvachit. Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly. So someone might say, well, Prahlad sounds kind of boring. Right? He doesn't even play, But now we are hearing what type of joy he's experiencing within, right? He doesn't need to take anything from the world around him, but the joy is coming from within because of his connection with the Lord. So he's also experiencing all these symptoms of divine love and ecstasy, crying, laughing, joy, singing. This verse further clarifies the comparison of a devotee to a child. If a mother leaves her small child in his bed or cradle and goes away to attend to some family duties, the child immediately understands that his mother has gone away, and therefore he cries. But as soon as the mother returns and cares for the child laughs and becomes jubilant. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, being always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, sometimes felt separation, thinking, where is Krishna? This is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. When an exalted devotee feels that Krishna is invisible, having gone away, he cries in separation. And sometimes when he sees that Krishna has returned to care for him, he laughs. Just as a child sometimes laughs upon understanding that his mother is taking care of him. These symptoms are called bhav. And the nectar of devotion, that's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, various bhavs, ecstatic conditions of a devotee are fully described. These bhavs are visible in the activities of a pure devotee. Okay, verse 40.
Nandati kvachit utkanto vilajjo nrityati kvachit tad bhavana yuktas tanmayo no chakaraha.
Sometimes, upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj would loudly call in full anxiety. He sometimes lost his shyness and jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy. And sometimes, being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. So we're hearing more about his ecstatic devotion for the Lord. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. This is what we are hearing. This Rupa Goswami's beautiful verse, right? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati, right? This phrase is there. Very beautiful phrase. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. This consciousness that is steeped in ecstatic devotion for the Lord. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. Prahlad Maharaj sometimes felt that the Lord was far away from him and therefore called him loudly. So this is a characteristic, right, of the relationship between the Lord and his devotees, right? There's always this play of union and separation, right? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he describes this in his verses in Prapana Jivanamrita, right? And in the introductory chapter, which he composed, there's one verse describing that, how in these verses in Prapana Jivanamrita, on one level, this is what he's illustrating, right? This play of union and separation between the Lord and his devotees, and how sometimes the devotees are feeling the joy of connection with the Lord. Sometimes they're feeling this hopelessness and separation with the Lord. And then, but the Lord is always coming to reassure them, right? And so this is one thing that's very beautiful in Prapana Jivanamrita, because there's on one level this conversation, there's like a dialogue taking place, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj has the primary section, which is a collection of expressions from the devotees, but then towards the end, there's another section which is statements from the Lord himself. And so in so many of those expressions, the Lord is reassuring his devotees that I do love you, I'm with you, I'm here for you. And so you see this play, right, that is going on between the two. And so also we're hearing here with Prahlad Maharaj, right? That sometimes he's feeling this joy and connection, and other times he's feeling this transcendental anxiety that, oh, I've lost my Lord, right? Or afraid that he will lose him, right? That fear can also be there. Even if you have his connection, you may lose him. You hear that in the mood of the Brajabasis as well. Sometimes thinking himself one with the Supreme, he imitated the Lord's pastimes, and in separation from the Lord, he would sometimes show symptoms of madness. These feelings of a devotee would not be appreciated by impersonalists. One must go further and further into spiritual understanding. The first realization is impersonal Brahman, but one must go still further to realize Paramatma, and eventually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by the transcendental feelings of a devotee in a relationship of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya. Here the feelings of Prahlad Maharaj were in the mellow of Vatsalya, filial love and affection. So that's interesting, right? Because normally we hear of Prahlad being in Shanta Rasa, the passive relationship. But we're hearing here that sometimes the feelings of these other relationships are also coming to him. So it's not a static reality ever, right? It is always dynamic. As a child cries when left by his mother, when Prahlad Maharaj felt that the Lord was away from him, he began to cry, Nadati. Oh, but it seems here it's more that he's feeling himself to be a child of the Lord. So Vatsalya in that sense. I believe it. That's what's being described. So not exactly what we more conventionally describe as referred as to Vatsalya, where one feels they are the guardian of the Lord, right? Okay, but Vatsalya in the sense of feeling to be a child of the Lord. Lord is one's parent. It seems like that's what Prabhupada is saying. Again, a devotee like Prahlad, the word Vatsalya literally just means affection, right? That's all it means. It means affection. And then it tends to refer, when it's used in this context, it tends to refer to that type of affection between a parent and their child. But then it works both ways, right? So this is more the feeling of a child that Prahlad is having. Again, a devotee like Prahlad sometimes sees that the Lord is coming from a long distance to pacify him. like a mother responding to a child saying, "My dear child, do not cry, I am coming." Then the devotee, without being ashamed due to his surroundings and circumstances, begins to dance, thinking, "Here is my Lord is coming." Thus the devotee in full ecstasy sometimes imitates the pastimes of the Lord, just as the cowherd boys used to imitate the behavior of the jungle animals. However, he does not actually become the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj achieved the spiritual ecstasies described herein by his advancement in spiritual understanding. Okay, well, maybe we'll stop there for today. It's very wonderful to hear about the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. Well, would anyone like to add anything? Anyone has a comment or a question? Or maybe Suvasni Didi would like to add anything?
Actually, I don't have anything to add. It's very nice actually because we don't hear so much about the well, I haven't read this Bhagavatam before, so I don't know the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj in more detail, isn't it? We just hear
Mm,
about is in Shantarasa and like is firmly fixed in the devotion to the Lord. But nice to go through this. Very beautiful.
mm,
More about him,
mm.
yeah, nice actually.
Yeah, and the good news is we're just at the beginning. So we have lots ahead that we get to hear. So that's something to anticipate, isn't it? Gangalila.
Dandavats, I've never heard the fact that Prahlad gave up playing before. So that's the first. How it is, like we hear it so many times, but still there's always something completely unheard. And so that's what hit me, because having raised a child and continuing to be surrounded by children, the that it makes a child is that they are always drawn to play, and that he gave that up and he didn't play. I didn't know that, and I'm now seeing more of that. He's just not just, he's saintly. He's a saint,
Mm,
not a
mm,
child. So it just kind of makes it more clear to me that there is a big difference.
mm. Yeah, I had never heard that before also. I mean, I think all of us or most of us were hearing this for the first time, as Suvasini said. I also was kind of surprised by that as well. Um, but then it was, but then we're also hearing in these last few verses that, he's absorbed in this inner play, right? That he has this, his play is in connection with the Lord, right? So it's not that his he's living a dry life, right? But he is absorbed in another sweetness, right? He doesn't need to seek that in the environment around him. So yeah, that also struck me. Yeah. But it didn't say he gave up play. It simply said he wasn't interested in play, as I recall.
Oh, okay.
Because
Thank you for that. He wasn't
there is
interested.
a subtle difference. I'm just going back to check exactly how it said it. Yeah, it said he was uninterested. Oh no, it said no, it does say he gave up. You're right. It does say he
I
gave
mean,
up. Yeah.
that is not springing from a childlike mind to give up something. It
Right,
is it's a mature decision.
right. Yeah, that is interesting actually. You pointed that out. It does say that looking at the Sanskrit, nyasta kridanako balo, having given up all sportive activities or tendencies for childhood play. Perhaps meaning that, like, his family and the attendants around him had like introduced him, right, to playful things or toys or games, and perhaps he tried it out because they told him, but he gave it up because he realized he wasn't interested. Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? But yeah, in the body of a young child, but fully realized saint.
So in this description, it strikes me as some children that I've engaged with, they get, okay, this child we're discussing is very focused on spiritual things, which is beautiful to hear about, but they'll have other hyper focused interests. And so I sit there and I go, well, this doesn't sound um, so foreign that it's not perceivable, but like there's a we even use the term special. There's a special place or a special way these people relate to reality that's a little different than us, and that goes back to what you were talking about empathy and sympathy, right? We might not understand exactly what they're experiencing, but we can be in awe of.
Yeah, that's actually true. I mean, that's an interesting point because, I mean, like if you think about the way Prahlad is appearing, yeah, he'll look special, right? He'll look
Right.
different
Yeah.
to someone with our vision. We don't know what's going on. We don't know.
And there's this doesn't change anything that we're learning about him, but it's like it's kind of really fascinating to me.
Hmm. 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 Yeah, that's an interesting point, isn't it? And reminds us we don't know who anyone is, right? Or that's something our Gurudev used to say, we don't know who is a sadhu. He used to say that, to our limited vision. All right. Well, maybe we'll stop there unless anyone wants to bring up anything else. Oh, I see in our chat, Andrew, you put empathy versus sympathy earlier on. Nice. Yeah, there's a
Yeah, so that's go on.
no. I was just saying, yeah, there's a difference between the two. There's perhaps subtle difference.
This was one of the conversations I was having with my son, right? I was explaining a situation to him, and he goes, "Yeah, I understand." And I go, "Okay, can you understand how the other person's feeling?" And he goes, "No, not really, but it
Mm,
sounds sad, right?" And he didn't have he's a teenager. He just didn't have the context, the experience, and so we were having this conversation about empathy versus sympathy, and
mm.
it's it's sometimes helpful to remember that difference, and you did a really lovely job explaining between the two.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. I didn't realize I did. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's been a really lovely meeting, and I appreciate everyone's auspicious presence and participation. And special thanks to Suhasini Didi for being with us today. So wish you all an inspired weekend and look forward to meeting you next time. Jai Shri Gurudev, Jai Vaishnava Vrinda, Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Suhasini Didi, and see you all next time.
Jai Shaka Didi, Jai Shaka Didi, Jai. Thank you, Shaka. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.